Last week, I'd been saying that the Astros offense still good enough to win a World Series. So when the Astros went off offensively on Friday against the White Sox, I tweeted out. I said the Astros offense isn't good enough to win a World Series /S, which of course means sarcasm out on the streets. Granado responded to me. He disagrees. He thinks that the Astros must be better offensively, that they can't win a World Series as currently constructed. Here are some reasons why I believe that the Astros can win a World Series with this team. Like, I'm not anti-trading for Trey Mancini. I'm not anti-trading for Josh Bell. I'm not anti-trading for Wilson Contreras. You give me any of those guys, I'd probably be pretty happy, depending on the return that those guys would cost. But the Astros right now, third best odds to win the World Series. They have the third best record in all of baseball. Yeah, they haven't been very good offensively. I agree with that. They're below average in league in scoring runs, which is concerning. But I believe they also have the potential to be much better because you have three very good players that are all in the top 10 in WAR with Jeremy Pena, Kyle Tucker, Yordan Alvarez, who many people consider one of the best offensive players in all of baseball. You give me one of those guys, your offense is going to be pretty good. I haven't even mentioned Jose Altuve, and you've had some struggles with players that you hope either A, improve or you're looking to upgrade them before the deadline. But you can't, I guess, mention that in this conversation because I'm saying right now the Astros good enough to win the World Series. But here was John earlier today, Granado, on the bench talking about this.
Here's where I have a problem with Jeremy. You're in the media. Don't be tweeting out that everything is fine. All is well here. All is fine here. The Astros see stuff like that and go, we're okay. We're okay.
Wait, come on. You don't think James Click cares what
anyone?
I think he cares what you say on Twitter?
I think this. Let's get away with as much as we possibly can and spend as little as we possibly can and see if we're okay.
Well, I think that is the Astros way. I know that's not a popular sentiment. No one likes to be disrespectful to Jim Crane, but the fact is, I do think that's the case.
I do think that's the case, and I think that we need to keep putting the pressure on them to actually act and spend more money because the window is closing. If you need a center fielder by trade deadline, go get a damn center fielder.
So there's John. James Click's like in my DMs all the time. He's asking me my opinion. He's asking me what I think of expected results coming up. He's asking me where Alex Bregman should be in the batting order. We obviously tongue-in-cheek here. I think Granado's giving me way too much credit to think that I am influencing the decisions of the Houston Astros because I believe that the Astros offense, despite not being that high in runs per game, I understand that, but because they're the third best team in all of Major League Baseball, because they have the third best odds to win the World Series. Three players in the top 10 in WAR. Yordan Alvarez, not breaking his hamate bone, is an absolute stud. Jose Altuve is the top second baseman still in the American League. They have an approach, Joel, that works very well. They don't strike out. In fact, the Astros, despite having not a very good offense right now, second fewest strikeouts in all of baseball. Contact. They see pitches. They make the other pitcher work. And again, they have the third best record in baseball. Don't panic. Don't panic about this Astros offense. If a move is there that makes sense, James Click will do it because he's aggressive. He showed us that he was aggressive last year. He saw a position of need last year in the bullpen. He went out and attacked that, brought in relievers. I believe he's going to bring in offense to this team, but I can guarantee you that it's not going to be because what I am tweeting and what I'm not tweeting.
I would. Obviously, that's the main thing. You know, you and I went back and forth, and I thought about the fact that I still think they need a 1-2 punch at the top of their rotation. You know, I've been adamant about the bullpen, and then we still have to address what the question marks are in this lineup. But you know, I understand. I also am open to understanding in the terms of a discussion the fact that look, when you're sitting where they're sitting, it's hard to say that they're lacking a whole lot in terms of being a team contending for a World Series championship. So it's all fun and games, but at the same time, realistically, when we look at this team, it goes back to what I said earlier in the show. Again, it's about the landscape too. At a certain point, you're not measuring yourself anymore against the division. You're measuring yourself against the other best teams in baseball.
We've been saying that since April.
Yeah. So now, instead of watching what the Rangers do, you know, a week or two ago when they were possibly, you know, the second place team within reach, or what the Mariners were supposed to do at the start of the year.
Could the Rangers make it a sweat?
Now we're focusing on the fact that the Yankees and the Mets, with big series coming up, are going to be teams that we can measure some things about to see where you sit and if something else needs to be done.
Guys, let me tell you real quick about Fitz Roofing. Fitz Roofing, dedicated and loyal to Houstonians. They're going to take care of you every step of the way, from a leaky roof to a full roof replacement on your business or your home, or maybe some home repairs, even a fence in your yard. All you got to do is call them. They're going to give you a free, no obligation inspection. It costs you absolutely nothing. Fitz Roofing, making a difference, one home at a time.
I'm not opposed to making a trade. I'm not just saying, no, James, don't do anything. Don't deplete the farm system more, which, I mean, is a concern. And last year, Click didn't trade from the farm, really. I mean, he traded Brian De La Cruz to Miami for Yimi Garcia, who was a fringe prospect. But he used more of the surplus of last year's roster, Miles Straw, Abraham Toro, to solidify the bullpen. And I think he's going to be trying to solidify the lineup this season. A couple things Granato said there that I think are worthy of the conversation. The cheap thing with Crane. Look, this year's payroll, 10th in baseball. It's not where the Astros have normally been these last few years since 2017, where they've been at or near, and sometimes over when they traded for Greinke, of the competitive balance tax. So the Astros have always been right or near it. This offseason was kind of wacky, right? You had the lockout. You didn't know what the number was going to be. Then there was a flurry of spending before it,
right?
And then there was like a flurry of spending after it.
And you were in limbo because you didn't know what the Correa situation was going to be, right?
I think they had already made the decision in hindsight.
But what I'm saying is, because of the fact that he didn't go anywhere else, then we saw that low offer, whether they knew about it or not.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, because you were kind of leaving the door just a smidge open.
It wasn't low. It was short.
But what I'm saying is, from the standpoint of, you're not going to go out and sign a bunch of other people until he signs, because it's an awful look.
First domino to fall.
People are like, yeah, you weren't serious about Correa in the first place, and image matters in that regard.
Yeah, and then, like, if you were at least kicking the tires on Correa, I'm not sure that they were. I mean, we'll never really know that. Click said that,
until the book comes out.
Yeah,
somebody's writing one.
But, I mean, even Correa was telling Jeremy Pena at the end of the offseason, this team is more likely, most likely yours. So, I mean, the writing was on the wall there. But also, I didn't love the free agents that would go out there and sign. Like, did you want to sign Trevor Story to a 9-figure deal? I didn't. I made that very clear. So, I mean, free agency, you're going to overpay just in general. It's the nature of the beast. But I'm not going to call Jim Crane cheap whenever he's the one that bought the team from Drayton McClain. Like, you want cheap? Go look what Drayton McClain was doing with the Houston Astros. Like, we should be pretty thankful of what Crane is doing with the Stros. And again, the Stros have been at or near, and sometimes one time over, the competitive balance tax since they've been a contender in 2017. This is the 1 year they haven't. They've played a few months of this season. We're here on June 20th, where they're not at or near the competitive balance tax. They have time to get there before the August 2nd trade deadline, but even that's going to take a return. Like, I'm going to give the Astros the benefit of the doubt this year where their payroll is at because of the wackiness of the CBA and the lockout and the Correa situation. And I'm going to put more weight on 17 through 21 when the Astros were spending money very competitively.
So here's the thing. I think that the evaluation, just like the results, are weighed on a year-to-year basis. And we know he wasn't Drayton, and he went out and did what he had to do, from pulling the trigger and opening his checkbook for Verlander the first year to making other subsequent moves that had to be made to give them a chance in years after that. Now you look at it, this is a totally different year, because you also realize teams are able to turn the page and realize our window has shut. You know what? We can be good, not great. We're not there yet. And they're still evaluating that. So at the same time, I was very quick to tell you at the start of the season, with all the variables you brought into it, with the short preseason and the fact that, we were paused for a while with the lockout. Look, I want them to spend the money. They don't have to do it before the start of the season, but I want them to do something and do whatever, a couple of moves or whatever it takes to be as competitive as possible between now and the trade deadline.
The other bone that I wanted to pick real quick is the window closing with the Houston Astros. Yordan Alvarez is one of the best players one of the best hitters in all of baseball. Kyle Tucker's top 10 in offensive WAR in the American League, very young, in his mid-20s. Jeremy Pena, who is a rookie, is in the top 10 in offensive and just overall WAR in the American League. You have a young pitching staff who is under team control for quite some time. Jose Altuve, still a very high-level player and the best second baseman in the American League, who is under contract as well. You have some pieces around them if you want to throw them in there as well. The Astros window is not closing. The core four window that we talk about with Altuve and Yuli and Springer and Correa, and if you want to throw in Bregman into the mix there too, are those players aging and starting to regress a bit? Yes, but the Astros have a new core that is outstanding.
Not denying any of that, right? I'm not trying to push back on any of that, but it depends on what your expectations for that window being open are. If it's to win the division and get to the playoffs, it's not closing. But where it relates to the conversation that we just had, it's how willing are the Astros going to be to go continuously year after year to fortify and supplement the rest of this roster where it need be, right? Because the way you compete with the Dodgers and the Yankees and now seemingly the Mets is you take those core elements you're talking about in this new generation, but you go out and fortify them on a year-to-year basis with the money, with the extensions, with the dollars that say it makes sense for me because I don't think winning the division's enough. Or is it more that Click has and Crane have the ability to scale it back and go, we're not going to spend like this every year, and it's time for us to kind of pull back on the spending? Well, then maybe it's a different window that's open. It may open it up for you to get in. It doesn't open it up for you to get all the way to the World Series.
He also spent $50 million on a pitcher who's pitched once in the last 2 years and was 38 years old coming off Tommy John.
Sure he did.
$50 million.
And part of that was a personal relationship as well, and he's paying off. Right? But now it's how do you do it the rest of the way and to fortify other pieces? Because you also have the challenge of you better hope Alex Bregman snaps out of this because you're paying him a pretty penny for multiple years coming up, and you need more production from him. And you've got to make some other decisions to see what you could do to fortify while also balancing what's on the books that maybe you like and maybe you don't.
But that's also part of baseball.
Sure
like you're going to spend money on players that don't work out. I mean, that's why I don't like signing free agents to big mega deals into their 30s. And maybe Alex Bregman's going to be that type of player, which was Jeff Luno's contract extension before Click. Not that I wouldn't have done it. It's just that Bregman's not lived up to that contract.